Hiya guys, and welcome back to another podcast.
Thursday's come around really, really quickly. We've got loads to talk about over the coming weeks, but today we are going to talk about...
We are going back in time. We are going to take you back to 2019 and roughly the time that we decided to make a decision and go into full-time van life. So Andrew, where do we start?
Well, as you said, 2019, which is when we took the pub on in Filey.
It was, which is just outside of Scarborough, sort of.
Yeah,
region.
between Scarborough and Bridlington. People will know where Filey is, I'm sure. So yeah, we took that pub on. I was running a nightclub in Scarborough at the time. And then we had COVID to deal with.
I think COVID was the start of it. I think we should talk about the fact that COVID obviously hit, because we were in the pub, hit us pretty hard. We had to close the pub down. We got a phone call at about 8 o'clock one night saying, right, 10 o'clock, kick everybody out, you're done.
Yeah.
We knew there was something going on because of the whole delivery situation. For some strangers, we stopped getting deliveries. So we knew there was some reason that something was happening. That was pretty much the pinnacle of the downfall of the pub for us.
Yeah, that's when it really started, wasn't it? So mental health-wise, it wasn't great for either of us. I mean, I've done pubs for 20 years, and running a pub that's empty every single day for 4 months the first time round?
It was a long time.
And not being able to go out. I know it was the same for everybody else. You couldn't go out of your houses. We were all restricted at the time. But we got this pub that was empty, and after that time when, you know, everything's buoyant and people are coming in every day, and all of a sudden it's silent and it's really, really quiet. You really struggled with it, didn't you?
I think for me what it was is the fact that we lived above the pub, but the pub was part of the house. It's really strange to explain, but the Bellevue was actually on 3 floors, and the 3rd floor is part of the back office, but is also where our home is. So the only places we had to wander was the pub. That was all you had. You came out of your door of your house and you were in the pub. So it was kind of like, that's all I had. I didn't have a space to go outside because we were on the main street. So it was kind of like you had no outdoor space.
No, we didn't.
The way the media had sort of portrayed it, and I think the way that I personally deal with situations didn't help, because I kind of put myself on a, oh my God, I don't want to be outside around all these people and getting myself unwell or anything. So yeah, so that for me kind of put a bit of a dampener on the pub side of things.
Yeah.
And it kind of played on my mental health.
So yeah, at first it was okay because we were doing jobs. We stripped the floor downstairs, didn't we? Because you thought it's only going to be for a couple of weeks, and as time went on and on and on, we just we had to destroy all the beer. We had to pour all the beer down the drain.
Yeah.
And we were getting no income at all. We got into serious debt because we got no income whatsoever. The pub company gave us £1,000, which we thought was great at the time, but it didn't last long.
I think what was worse for me personally, as I was classed as self-employed, so I didn't get like furlough or anything else. No. All of the staff got furloughed. We did everything we possibly could for the staff because it wasn't their fault either. Yeah. We wanted to make sure that they were, and you made sure it was all okay. Andrew, on the other hand, was furloughed because you technically worked for me. So he got a little bit of money coming in, but me personally had nothing, like, at all.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot, was it? Because I was running the nightclub at the time, or I'd just come off the nightclub, and to do things right, I employed myself for Stuart, so I put myself on the books.
Yeah.
So I was able to get a bit of furlough for you, but you were getting nothing. So your income, because we took a percentage of the takings at the pub, your income went from a decent amount to nothing.
Literally nothing,
overnight.
Because there was no income coming in.
So that was the kind of start of the whole thing of, is this for us and is this the rest of our life? Because we went through it a few times. We jumped through hoops, didn't we, making meals, and then we got curfews and things. And your health started to decline.
It did. I had a pretty bad turn. So for me, it kind of just got repetitive, and it got to the point where it felt like we'd done everything that we as a couple, or even as individuals, could actually do in the pub. So it started to get really defeatist, or I started to get really defeatist, because it was like we're doing the same thing. It felt like it was just like a continuous loop every week of the exact same thing, where I just didn't feel like we were living. It just felt like we were just
surviving.
Yeah. During COVID, we kind of had we had like a mini break, didn't we? So we decided we wanted to go on holiday and just have some time away, and we didn't really have a choice of. Yeah, abroad was kind of off the table. So randomly, I'd seen on Facebook somebody advertising a motorhome for rent. So that was the
dog friendly, and they happened to be in Scarborough, which is just a stone's throw from Filey. So it was dog friendly motorhomes. I think that was the name of the company, wasn't it?
I think it was something like that, yeah.
So we thought, let's take the dogs with us. We took your niece as well, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And we went in the motorhome. We went just Skegness, didn't we? We decided to go on the East Coast.
Well, I think that was the start of... That's when I started following YouTubers. That's when I went down the whole rabbit hole, because we were looking for... We were trying to... Because the motorhome, it did cost quite a bit to actually rent. And we were like, right, okay, we'll have a look at these places. And I'd seen that people were wild camping, and I was like, oh, I wonder if we could just do like a holiday of just wild camping. It didn't work out like that, but that was the plan originally. And that's where I kind of fell down that rabbit hole of... Wait a minute, people are living in motorhomes and whatever else. So that was kind of in the back of our brain, because we'd had such a good time in the motorhome and we'd actually enjoyed it and thought, you could actually live in one of these, couldn't you?
That's what you were thinking. I don't think I was. The thought had never crossed my mind that you'd gone after that holiday. Obviously, it had resonated with you and it was kind of still in your head, but I hadn't thought of it. It was literally a joke when I said it in the car. So we kind of talked about it for a while, didn't we? And I think because of your health, and let's not beat about the bush, you were pretty ill.
Yes.
To the point where you were bedridden. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. But you were very ill. I know you don't want to talk too much about it. So I knew that we couldn't continue the way we were in the pub. I was working a lot of hours because running pubs is a lot behind the scenes. And you were unable to help, so it was becoming twofold, wasn't it? Your health was declining, I wasn't getting any better, so we decided one day that we needed a change.
We did. So we decided it was kind of one of those twofold situations where we said, right, okay, if we come out of the pub, because it was also our home, we needed to have something to go into. So we did have a look around. We got in touch with the local councils in Mansfield to try and get put on a council list down there. We got in touch with private landlords to see roughly what we would be looking at cost-wise to try and work out financially how long we could last, because we hadn't started saving at this point. We had a little bit of money in the bank, but not masses. And it was like, right, okay, what do we do? So we'd gone shopping. So this is the actual story of the moment that the stupidest comment in the world changed our lives. It was one of those silly moments. So me and Andrew have a lot of silly moments while we're sat driving and on our travels.
We talk a lot while we're driving, don't we? An awful lot, and we put the worlds to rights. I mean, I wish sometimes we got a dash cam facing us, because the conversations that we had, some of them we couldn't publish, to be fair. But we should do that. So we're coming back from Bridlington. And in the Range Rover or whatever we got at the time, it wasn't the little my little favourite car, the Audi. It was the Range Rover.
It was the Range Rover.
And we were discussing the options, and we pretty much counted out council housing because of the dogs. We counted out private renting because of the dogs again.
But for us, I've got to say this, but for us, the dogs were the main important thing.
Yeah.
Like, there was no way in a million years we were giving up a dog or we were doing anything like that. That was never going to happen.
No.
Because I know we had a few people who said, well, could you not just do something with one of your dogs? No. Not happening ever.
So we were kind of struggling as to what we were going to do, and I quite flippantly and jokingly just turned around like you do, jokingly went, why don't we just buy a motorhome and just live in that?
It was the way you said it. Like, you said it there, like it was just this quite flippantly. It wasn't. You were getting annoyed at me, and it was like, just buy a motorhome and we'll live in that. And it was like, actually, wait a minute, Andrew, that isn't actually a bad idea.
Yeah.
And the pair of us sort of looked at each other, and you could see our brains calculating and working out. And it was like, financially, we could afford it.
Well, we thought we could afford it. We thought we could afford it, didn't we? Then we started looking for a motorhome, and what we hadn't banked on was they were so expensive.
I think it was because we chose to do it just after COVID and all that horribleness of that. The prices had just gone through the roof. I'm not going to lie, and I was quite naive when it came to it, because I didn't expect them to be in the price brackets they were.
Yeah, we weren't prepared for that. So we kind of said, yeah, let's have a look at a motorhome and see if that's something that we could do. And we decided a camper van was probably going to be out because we got the 3 dogs, which means we wanted a bit more space. Height-wise for you, because you're 6'3".
Yeah.
We needed something a little bit taller. So we pretty much said motorhome straight up, didn't we?
So after Andrew made that silly decision of opening his mouth and making a silly comment, that comment that changed our whole entire life, we then went home, didn't we? We did a lot of research. This wasn't something that we just jumped into. It wasn't a quick 10 seconds and we just looked and bought a van. It was months and months and months worth of...
It was, because we knew we got to hand in 6 months' notice at the pub, which gave us a little bit of time. We thought it was going to, 6 months is going to drag, it's going to be a long, long time.
No, it flew over.
Yeah, it did fly over. And we did, as you say, we were doing lots of research, weren't we, about the type of van, what we could do, where we could go.
We kind of made a checklist, didn't we? So we kind of sat there and said, okay, we originally looked at layouts of vans. That was the first thing, because we wanted something, obviously, because it was going to be our home, it needed to have certain areas, we needed certain things in the van. So we found a layout that we liked.
Yeah, I was quite specific about, because we'd looked at lots of layouts, hadn't we? And I said, if we're living in it, we're going to need a lounging area, we're going to need a kitchen, obviously, and plenty of room for the dogs. So we got a kind of idea that we knew the kind of layout that we wanted.
We did, and weirdly enough, it wasn't a Scout. Scout never came up because we never thought we'd ever be able to afford one.
No.
The ones that we looked at were silly money, and it was just, too far of our budget. We kind of planned it. So we had certain events through the year at the pub, so we knew what events kind of brought in what money, and we knew there was some major stuff coming up, so we knew when we wanted to come out, and then we kind of worked our budget around that, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we knew how much we wanted to spend. We did then actually go and look at some vans.
Yeah, we did. You just touched on it there about the pub and the way that it worked. We were quite clever with the way that we did it, because we stopped in the pub. We decided that we were going to do van life in spring, so we kind of put a notice in 6 months before we knew we wanted to start van life.
Yes, it wasn't just that. There was one major event happens in Filey, and it's a brilliant event. It's not brilliant to work at, especially not as landlords. So for us, we were like, we'll come out 2 weeks before this major event. So the girls that took over kind of were thrown in the deep end a little bit there, and it was like, you can have folk festival weekend.
Yeah, Tina and Tara worked, and they knew what it was all about, so they'd have been fine with folk festival. But we came out. We wanted to come out in the April, so we knew that we'd spend winter safe, because we'd never done winter in a van, did we?
No.
So we thought we'll come out in April. So we spent the winter in the pub, safe and sound.
It was one of those things where it was, I'm not going to lie, and I think everybody who's looked at buying a motorhome will agree, is the amount of scam adverts is just absolutely appalling. I don't understand how they get away with it. I don't understand how Facebook even allows it, or eBay, or there's a lot of places that have...
We were looking at several places, weren't we? We looked on eBay, we looked on Marketplace Facebook, we looked at the Motor Trade as well.
We did Auto Trailer, there was loads of them.
And it was so difficult, because we hadn't got a clue. We were so naive thinking that these vans were going to be in our price range, and of course then we got all sorts of... We were messaging people, and we were getting responses back, if you want to pay a £5,000 deposit on it, and we were like, what? or the famous one, I'm now a doctor in Germany.
Yes.
What was that one? That was
I'll send somebody to bring the van to you. All you need to do is just pay so much money, and then we'll guarantee it's yours. And and that kind of happened a lot, didn't it? And then we were finding out that these 10 grand vans were actually worth about 60 or 70 grand, and it was people just scamming. So there's something to look out for, and there were so many scams. I think once again we were naive. We thought we didn't know exactly how much vans cost, because we'd never been to any major events. We hadn't actually gone to any trade shows or anything to actually look to see how much they were. So when you first put it in and it's bringing up like 30 or 40 vans around about between 10 and 15 grand, you think, oh well, okay, that's the going rate, that we can afford that, that's all right. So you're messaging all these people, get really excited, thinking, oh my God, that's going to be our van, it's brand new, it's only 2 years old, it's got 70,000 miles, 7,000 miles on it, we're fine. Coming to realise, no, Stuart, that's worth like 100 grand, and it's just a scam. So yes, we went down a bit of a rabbit hole with that.
Yeah, we got quite disheartened, didn't we? We almost gave up, if I remember rightly, because
We did.
we just couldn't find anything, and time was ticking on. We'd handed in our notice, so there was no going back on that. And we hadn't bought a van, and we hadn't found one. We hadn't even looked at one.
The first van we actually went to look at was through York, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a small 2-berth.
I think it was 4-berth, but it only felt like 2-berth, didn't it? It was tiny.
All I remember is this guy getting in to show Andrew the inside of the van, and I couldn't get in comfortably. And instantly I was like, yeah, that's not happening. And Andrew said to me we'd spend time. I wasn't being rude with him. I didn't want to take too much of his time, but I didn't want to seem overly ignorant.
Yeah, but it was worth having a look at, so we knew what we didn't want as well.
And it was quite expensive. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't. It was very much over our budget.
It was, and it wasn't young, was it? It was an older van, but it was nice. It would have been lovely for a couple without dogs that wanted to use it for weekends and things, but it wasn't. It was never going to be for us.
No.
I think as soon as we saw the size of it, because the photographs always make things look bigger, and we rocked up, didn't we, to where it was parked up, and instantly we were like, that doesn't look as big as it does in the photos. And I think instantly we were just both, that's never going to work. But Stuart didn't even bother looking, but I went in and had a look just to see, I think, and just to confirm that that's not what we were looking for. And we crossed that kind of van off the list, didn't we, completely?
So, yeah, that was another one crossed off the list. That felt really, really disheartening because we thought that was it. We thought we'd found our van. It was on our doorstep. Yes,
it was real. We could go and see it.
Yeah. It was a little bit over budget, but it was manageable. We knew we could get the money if we needed to. And then it kind of all fell through, and it was like, oh no, it isn't what we want.
Yeah.
It isn't right on our doorstep.
We were literally back to square one, weren't we?
And then randomly one night I was just on Facebook Marketplace again, and up popped Avandra. And I sent him a message, and I'd asked where all the questions that everybody asks is damp, what's its MOT like, just the typical things I'd learned along the way of what to ask. This guy didn't have a clue. And that kind of should have been a bit of a red alarm, shouldn't it?
That should have been a red flag there and then, yeah.
Oh, but he was all the way down in
Wolverhampton. Yeah.
So we drove down in the Audi.
Yeah.
Took like the smallest car in the world.
Yeah.
To drive down to go and have a look at it. And he was like, yep, I've got people coming this afternoon. He was like, if you want it, you need to come and have a look now. So we kind of jumped on and we were like, right, let's just go. We pulled up, and I don't know what it was. Still to this day, I don't know what it was. It was just instantly, it was like, yeah, this is our van.
Well, I think it sealed it, didn't it? Because we went inside, and on the back, right at the back, was obviously there was a hole in the wall, or a missing bit of, it wasn't a hole, it was a bit of missing wallpaper. And there was a Doctor Who and the Daleks mouse mat stuck to the wall. And we just looked at each other and went, that's a sign.
I was going to say, if that isn't a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so we kind of gave it the once over, because we had no idea what we were looking at, did we?
No, we...
Naive again.
I think the problem was because we were in a time crunch, because we knew financially, we knew our budget, and because obviously we lived in the pub and it was pub-related income, we didn't have a clue of what was coming in and what was going out. Yeah. So it was like, yep, it's within budget. It's huge.
Yeah.
It had a full year's MOT on it.
That was the thing, that it had got 3 past MOTs before we picked it up. So we were like thinking, yeah, this looks all right. It's for the money that it is. It suited us. The layout was perfect. Yeah, a bit older.
It did have its issues. We knew, because of the budget, we knew that it wasn't going to be perfect because of the price tag of what it was. It was kind of like,
you're not going to pick up a 1996 van and it's going to be perfect. But we knew that we were going to get some money when we left the pub.
Yes.
So we knew that we could put another solar panel on, upgrade the batteries and all that kind of thing. So we kind of said yes there and then, handed over the money and drove it home.
Yeah, that wasn't so fun. So what we didn't realise, of course, stupidly, is that we would be picking it up there and then. So we drove, so Andrew decided, yeah, we'll take the Audi down. We'll not take the Range Rover that Stuart can drive. We'll take the Audi that Stuart has to squish into. And of course, I can't drive the motorhome.
But it was a lot more economical in fuel, wasn't it?
I think that's what it was.
The Range Rover was so expensive to run. I mean, it was just like a tank.
We should have taken the Range Rover.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to drive the Audi back, right? Following Andrew.
Yeah.
You were all the way up the motorways and everything else. Never drove a motorhome properly.
Never. I mean, I've driven a 7.5 ton truck because I'm allowed to on my licence 3 times up to Scarborough. But this was a different prospect. I don't know why. Because it was daytime and it was just busy and 7 metres, and all of a sudden this van's ours and I'd never driven it. Oh my goodness.
It was a long journey back. We thought we'll do it maybe an extra half an hour of what it took us to get down. No.
That was the first time we realised that Google Maps, and when it tells you it's going to be 3 hours, almost double it, because you're never ever going to get 70 mile an hour on the motorway.
Not for us.
So
it was an extra half hour on.
So it was a long old trip back, and we got back and we were like, oh, great. And Stuart went, come on, let's go and spend the night in her now.
We did. It was the first thing we did. As I got back to the pub, and I was like, right, okay, she's parked there, she's ours. Oh, wait, let's just go away. Let's have a good look at her. Let's figure out what we need to do.
So we just driven from Filey all the way down to Wolverhampton, bought the van, driven all the way back, taken hours and hours and hours driving, and we decided that we're going to go out for the night. Not close by the way. Oh, let's head to Mansfield. Didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
But did we actually get all the way to Mansfield?
No, we didn't. No, we stopped off at Blythe, near the service station. We found our first park up. And
that was our first wild.
It was our first wild camping. First night that we owned the van, we did it. It was Baltic.
It was absolutely freezing.
Baltic. We
didn't know how to work anything. The diesel heater that was fitted didn't work properly.
Well, we switched it on, didn't we? And it just filled the whole van with smoke, and we were like, right, that doesn't work.
So we spent the weekend, didn't we, down in Mansfield?
Yeah.
And it was kind of just, I don't know, it was a surreal experience, because it was kind of like, this is now going to be our home. We knew.
Yeah.
We kind of made lists of what we knew we needed to update, what was going to happen. But then we kind of had to then think, oh my God, we've got a whole entire house to empty. Then it kind of came back to reality, didn't it?
Yeah, and you don't realise how much stuff you accumulate. I mean, it wasn't the biggest flats above the pub, but we got a garage outside as well. So, and then and all your possessions and things that you don't, clothes. How many bags of clothes did you dispose of?
I sent 10 bags of pretty new clothes to a charity shop, didn't I, in Scarborough?
Yeah,
that's
Rainbow Centre, wasn't it? Was it Rainbow Centre?
Yeah.
And it wasn't 10; it was 17.
I think the first time was 10, and then I got another 7 bags after that. But I wanted to support somebody who'd supported me in the past, so it was kind of like, that's where it's going. Yeah. So we'd taken everything out of the house to put in the van. So that was the van all full. We knew everything. We got everything in there. And then it was like, right, okay, now we need to get rid of everything. So we did. We managed to get rid of about 90% of it. And then me and Andrew are geeks. Andrew loves Doctor Who. I love BB-8 and Star Wars. We didn't realise we had so much collectibles and whatever else. So now we have a storage unit.
Yeah, which is costing us more money than the stuff that's in it. But hey ho, I won't part with my vinyls. You're not going to part with all your BB-8 collection. I've got a Doctor Who and Dalek collection and police boxes galore, which I don't want to part with just yet. So, yeah.
And we also have a very amazing friend that we need to go and collect some things from, because they let us put some in their storage.
Down in Edwinstowe, Dianbriar, storing some stuff which we're going to get back as well.
We've
got stuff all over the place. Your mum's got some of the cushions we've got
out the back
from
of the van.
The back of the van. So.
Yeah, your mum's got the awning. Literally every house that you could think has something that belongs to us.
Yeah. So that's our story, and we survived that first weekend with only a few weeks to go before we left the pub, and the rest is history, as they say.
Pretty much. It was kind of just a whirlwind of a lot of sorting things out.
It was a whirlwind. Between the February and getting the van and coming out the pub was a whirlwind. And once we were on the road, we headed down to Mansfield, didn't we? Because we needed the break. I needed the break.
Well, we booked in, didn't we? We booked in at Tall Trees, and we kind of said, right, okay. It was quite funny because another wee quick story, and I know I'll get backlash from this, but it is so funny. So we got a phone call one night, and it was Andrew's mum, and she was like, I booked a holiday. And we were like, right, okay. And she was like, in Wales for the second week after you leave the pub. And I'm sat there, he's laughing now, and it wasn't this funny at the time, because we hadn't even bought a motorhome. So we had no way of knowing whether we could even get to this place in Wales. And his mum had already booked it.
She had.
Not had any conversation with us, not said anything.
Well, we'd said, let's be fair, we'd said to her, we're coming out the pub, so if you want, we'll go on, we'll have a holiday with you. And yeah, literally just rang and said, I booked it.
I booked a week in one place, because the idea wasn't to stay in one place, but we booked this hotel, this campsite, for a whole week in Wales, the second week after you leave the pub.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're talking about stories, I remember one at Mansfield when I got on the roof to put a new solar panel on and realised that the original solar panel wasn't even stuck down. So we'd driven all the way from Wolverhampton to Filey back down to Mansfield, back up to Filey, into storage with a solar panel that wasn't even stuck down. How the hell that never flew off on the motorway, I do not know to this day. But genuinely,
I think one of the best things for us is we've got so many stories and so many amazing things that we've done. And don't get me wrong, yes, we've had some downs. I think it's unrealistic to think that this lifestyle is going to be absolutely perfect all the time, because it isn't. No. We do have down moments. We have moments where it isn't great. You get yourself in a rut, and you think, well, what have I done? I need to change it up. Something's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. People think that it's an easy lifestyle. It's not at all. I mean, we've now failed 2 MOTs. We've had days where we've had weeks where we haven't seen the sun, and for the first time in my life, I felt depressed about it. I remember we were at Castleton for a week. We never saw the sun. Then we moved on, and we never saw the sun for a couple of weeks, and it was getting me down. So I know that's the same if you're living in a house, but I guess if you live in a house, you've got all the home comforts and things. We're in this van, and it's cold and it's miserable, and it does get you down sometimes.
It does. I think it's something that people need to be aware of, that yes, van life has its amazing opportunities. You can go to some amazing places, but it still does have its bad days. It's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. So now I'm going to put it on the flip side. I think the other thing of that, though, is then you do have your good times, and these good times outweigh the bad.
Oh, easily.
So you kind of sit there and, like, I do have my moments where I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? Should we just go back to a house? Or should we looked at parking up for the year and just paying for the sighting fees? And it was kind of like, do we just do that? Yes, it's easier, but then you're not getting out, you're not exploring, you're not getting to meet new people, you're not getting to see some of these absolute stunning places that we've seen, and discovering places we didn't even know existed.
No. I think the recent MOT fail has been a bit of a, not an eye-opener, but a decision maker, that we don't know how long we've got left in this van.
No.
And I think we want to make the most of this year, so that the idea of parking up on a site, it sounded good at the time, but now we're thinking, we've only been back in the house 2 weeks, and I'm bored silly already. I'm just itching to get back on the road again. So I think that's kind of that's kind of made the decision for us of where we're heading this year. So we're going to carry on doing van life for as long as we can, because we enjoy it. We do enjoy it. It has its ups and downs, but as you said, generally we do enjoy it.
So yeah, that is the story of how we actually became full-time van lifers, really. And I don't think we plan on going back anytime soon.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's us.
That's us.
So yeah, so if you're debating it, and I would definitely recommend doing your homework. Not all YouTubers and not all social media show you actually the whole entire thing. So yeah, have a proper look, but don't be afraid and go out there and just enjoy yourself, I guess.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. That's the thing. Everything you're going to come across can be fixed. It's all practical stuff. You just got to it's a different mindset, isn't it? You just do your daily things and then go off and enjoy it.
Yeah, you might as well. You kind of take it with you.
Life's too short. It really is.
It is. So until next week, go out there, have fun and have some adventures. I've been Stuart.
And I'm Andy.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.